Hello, Coastal School 5th graders and Pacheco 6th graders. I'll say that again so you can check to make sure you're doing the right lesson. If you are a 5th grader at Del Mar, a 5th grader at Baywood, or a 6th grader at Pacheco, this is your lesson. If you are not one of those people, this is not your lesson. You will be confused. It will go poorly for you. Run away. Just go to the other side, please. So if you are one of those people who are supposed to be here, we are talking about Alberti Bass. What is an Alberti Bass? How do I compose an Alberti Bass? And then what does that really mean for our composition work? Let's get into it. Before we can even get started on Alberti Bass, there's three major terms we gotta know. Those terms are ostinato, chord, and triad. An ostinato, a short musical line that repeats, is really familiar with you now. I think you all can define that term off the top of your head. Just boom, right away. Ostinato, short musical line that repeats. A chord, like playing guitar, is a collection of three or more notes. For example, this is not a chord. That's a note. This is not a chord. That's two notes. But this is a chord. Three or more notes makes a chord. A triad is a type of chord that is specifically only three notes. And triads are evenly spaced. So this is not a triad. This is not a triad. This is not a triad. This is a triad. The notes are evenly spaced. We're going to talk about really what that means in a bit. But just remember that a triad is a three-note chord. An ostinato is a short musical line that repeats. And a chord is a collection of three or more notes. Here's an example of an ostinato. An ostinato here is just two notes that just repeat over and over and over. Right, so it just repeats da 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 over and over and over. We all know ostinatos. Here's some examples of chords, which, by the way, a reminder, it's a collection of three or more notes played at once. That's what a chord will look like on ukulele or guitar. This is what they sound like. This is what they would look like on piano or a composition. They're all stacked together. They happen all at the same time, one then the next. So chords can look different ways. The big thing is multiple notes happening at once. Now let's get to the new term, triad. Remind yourself of the definition of a triad now. A triad is three notes that are evenly spaced, play at the same time. Mr. Cooch, I still don't know what evenly spaced means. Why do you keep saying that? This is what evenly spaced looks like. Notice that the bottom note, the lowest note, is on a line. The next note, the middle note, is on the next line. And the top note is on a line. Notice how they all stack right on top of one another. They're all on lines, and they do not skip a line. They kind of look like snowmen. Here's your snowman. Also happens on spaces here, where you have the bottom space, the second space, and the third space. This is an example of a triad. When you stack all of the notes, it creates a triad, which looks like a snowman. Does it make more sense now? If it not, I post more resources, some readings, and some listenings, including Wikipedia and a YouTube video, that further explain a triad. three notes stacked on one another, all on lines or all on spaces. Let's try. Now let's go to Alberti Bass. The Alberti Bass was invented by an Italian composer named Domenico Alberti. He was not a successful composer. Most of his music's not well known, but he did gift humanity this one magical thing called the Alberti Bass. The Alberti Bass is a type of ostinato, or a short musical line that repeats, that uses a triad. There's a specific order to the playing that makes an Alberti Bass. So we got our triad here, right? And the order goes bottom, top, middle, top, bottom, top, middle, top. So it goes bottom note, that top note, middle note, top note, right? And so if you're back to our snowman here, think about bottom part of the snowman, head of the snowman, middle of the snowman, head of the snowman. And you would play those notes in that order. Not all at the same time, but one then the other. So bottom, top, middle, top, bottom, top, middle, top. How this would look in your music would be something like this. So in the number 1 here, we have the chord spelled out. So there's our triad, evenly spaced, all on the lines. So line, line, line. Notice that bottom note, that low C there, has a line through it. So we know it's evenly spaced there. So there's our snowman. So once you know your chord, you're going to go bottom note, top note, middle note, top note, bottom note, top note, middle note, top note, bottom note, top note, middle note, top note, bottom note, top note, middle note, top note. So if I stack those quarter notes that you see on number 2 there, if I stack those quarter notes on top of each other, say they all happen at the same time, it would make a snowman. But since I'm playing them one, then the other, I created an Alberti Bass. So here's your assignment for this week. You're going to go to noteflight.com and you're going to write out an Alberti Bass that changes notes every so often. By changes notes, I mean the bottom note changes. So for example, if my first note is C, I'm going to play C, G, E, G, C, G, E, G, and that would be my Alberti Bass. And then say I change my note to D, then be D, A, F, A, D, A, F, A, and then my bottom note changes back to C. So I go back to C, G, E, G, right? Use the other resources in order to explain this more. Go through this site a second time. Go through this lecture a third time, however many times it does take to click. This is your resource. Email me if you don't get it after you try it a bit, and I'll try and get back to you. When you email me, make sure you put your name in your email so I know who I'm talking to. Have a good time. Bye-bye.